Time for this weekend's Capitol Report. Pat McGuigan is here, and T.W. Shannon has just been inaugurated, or sworn in, I'm sorry, as the Speaker of the House. You got a chance to sit down with him, talk about his top priorities.
I think Speaker Shannon's got a intriguing, and if not necessarily ambitious, but an intriguing agenda for his first year. First one might sound kind of modest. He gave me top 3 priorities. And the first one is management of state assets. Now that may not sound all that sexy, but one of the things that he's found out, and that we've all found out, is that it's hard to get a handle on exactly what the state government of Oklahoma owns and controls and has control over. And so the first thing he's been trying to do is make sure he knows that. He's actually worked on this for some time, and he had a number of interim studies this last summer and fall. So what do we own? How much of it do we really need to keep? Which ties in with a broader subject of right-sizing government. So possible sale of some assets and then centralizing management of those assets.
Now, why is that important?
Well, it's important because of what government should be doing. If government's into some stuff and holding some property that it doesn't need, it ought to return that to the private sector at a fair rate and take that capital, and then maybe, you know, this is Pat McGuigan's idea, do something like pay down some of the pension liabilities that are out there lingering. So that's why it's important. That's his first one. His second is, he said there will be a proposal for a personal income tax cut of some kind. I suspect it's going to be pretty modest. Closely tied to that, he wants to cut the franchise fees that businesses pay to make the state even more friendly, and we score pretty well in terms of friendliness to business, but to make it even more so.
And he has come out and said that it's important that we really look at these cuts before we make them, because some states took really deep cuts, now they're in trouble. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think he's a little more ambitious on the tax cut front, actually, than either the governor or President Pro Tem Bingman. Bingman has been sending some cautionary notes. I think Shannon wants to get those tax rates down, but just an incremental cut, not, you know, dramatic like was talked about last year. His third major priority is workers' comp reform, shifting to an administrative system away from the state's litigation-oriented system. Okay,
so out of those 3 priorities, which is going to be the toughest to really make a change and really see a dent made?
It might surprise some people, I think, but it probably shouldn't, given the history, the power of lawyers and attorneys in the state legislative process. I think that the change in workers' comp may be tougher than a lot of us have suspected, despite the increase in Republican ranks. And the reason is the new law is only a few months old. We're as some people have said, we've passed reformed, and as Shannon points out, the rates aren't any lower. However, a strong argument's going to be made by the cautious crowd to let the reforms just enacted last year have more time to take effect. About 90% of the current cases in the system are actually still being adjudicated under the old law because of when they started. It's only about 10% of the current cases are even being looked at under the new law. Now, I've always advocated an administrative reform system personally, but I think some of the cautionary notes being raised are rational, so I think that's going to be a tough nut.
Okay, and the last question, Governor Mary Fallin will be giving her State of the State address on Monday. What are some highlights you think that you'll see? You don't have any inside scoop, but what do you think she'll be talking about?
I didn't grab her in the hall and get, you know, a special insight into the content. I think you'll see a pretty cautious speech, cautious conservatism on her part. There'll be a proposal for a modest tax cut of some kind. We may get a specific figure. She may just keep it general. Ambivalence. She may convey some ambivalence on workers' comp reform. We'll see. Economic growth, just stressing further steps to make the state friendly to business. Higher education graduation rates. I think she's going to talk about that. And finally, I think she's going to say something about drones. I mean, that's kind of been a big topic of hers later. She wants to make the state an economic center for production and manufacture of unmanned drones for law enforcement and other purposes, military purposes. So those are my things. I think you'll see each of those somewhere in her speech.
And we'll find out on Monday.
Right.
All right, thanks, Pat. That's our Capitol Report. Have a great weekend, folks.